What's up guys, and welcome back to the Reverbium channel for F1 22. We'll be heading off to our first race of my team. We're heading to Bahrain around the Sakir circuit, and we'll see how we get on in our first race. It's new handling system, new cars, brand new everything, so it's going to take some getting used to. Start at the back of the grid. We're not very hopeful, but we'll see what we can do. If you haven't seen episode 0 where we make the team, the livery, everything, be sure to check that out. We'll head straight into qualifying for our first lap out in the car. Nice green in first sectors, but we have gone out nice and early to try and get used to this car, see how it feels with the fuel load for qualifying. So we'll get into the DRS section across the line for our first lap, and it's a 1:32.3. We're going to have to go again. As you see, we come out later in the session, we drop down to 13th, but we're stuck behind Zhou Guan Yu here around into the final sector. We run a bit wide, but we're still managing to be slightly quicker than last time, but again, we're very slow for the final bends. We don't want to run into the back of Zhou, so it's not going to be a faster time. We also forgot to put new tyres on for this next set of laps, which isn't going to be helpful at all. So we're going to try and squeeze another lap in as we didn't improve. But you can see in the top right, the timer is very close to going to 0 before we get to the line. It's going to be so tight to try and get this final lap in. Otherwise, we will be having to settle for 13th, but it will get us through. But we may drop with the final laps, and we make it with just 1 second to go. We managed to pull it off to get ready for another flying lap. So as we come into the penultimate bend here, you can see we're 2 tenths faster, getting to 3 tenths down the straight. So we're going to improve slightly. We've dropped down to 16th. We're right on the danger zone of heading out in Q1 in the first qualifying session, up into 3 tenths behind. We're dropping a bit of time on the straight now though. Hit the DRS section, across the line, down to 2 tenths. And where do we finish? It's 13th. We make it through Q1 at the first attempt. So now we into Q2, only going to do 1 lap here, so we don't want to risk not having fresh tyres, and we feel like we've got a bit of handling on the car now. So around the final bend, looking to push into Q3 for the first time. We head into the DRS section again, get to the line. It's a 1:31.3, and it's 7th place as we go across the line. We're not going to hit a final lap, and we drop down to 9th. We've made it into Q3 for the first time this year. And as we head into Q3, you see we run wide from the second last corner here, which isn't going to set us off well. We're not going to be looking at a great lap time here now, despite the 2 green sectors for 1 and 2. We're going to have plenty of time though if we want to go out again. So we're going to hit the line, and it's only going to be 10th place. That's where we're going to start the grid for our first race. It's better than I expected getting into Q3, so we'll definitely take that heading into the race.
This is the real deal, and it's make or break here at round 1 of this year's Formula One World Championship. There's no shortage of passing opportunities around the 3.36 miles of the Bahrain International Circuit, with the best, of course, at turn 1, and then another soon after into turn 4. 15 corners here, 6 to the left and 9 to the right, and we could see 1 or 2 flat spots into that tight left-hander of turn 10. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. A fantastic effort from Charles yesterday, and it's put him on pole. And a very happy Carlos Sainz will start second. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Verstappen, George Russell and Hamilton, Bottas, Ricciardo, Fernando Alonso, the owner driver, Norris, Ocon, Kevin Magnussen and Tsunoda, Gasly, Mick Schumacher, Oscar Piastri and Guan Yu Zhou, Vettel, Stroll, Latifi and Alex Albon picks up the last spot on the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
So as you can see, we're better than Piastri, started 17th, but we're heading to 5 red lights for the first time in this My Team career, and it's lights out, and away we go. It's a bit of a slow start from us compared to Alonso, which isn't great, not what we wanted off the start of this race. We're going to look to go down the inside into turn 1, see if we can try and make position back. Norris is on our outside now though, as we don't quite get the car round enough. Bit of contact with Norris on the outside, and Ocon comes through as well from behind. We drop down to 12th, we get a warning for that collision with Norris, and we're already dropping 2 places off the start of the race. That's not what we wanted at all. Norris goes on the inside, looking to challenge Ocon, but he can't get through. We almost get into the back of Norris, as we have to brake sharply at the end there, and then we drop off into the next section of the track. We have to settle for 12th. Tsunoda looking to mount a challenge behind as well. We go for a huge dive down the hill on the inside of Norris and squeeze him wide. It's not a great move from us, as we end up losing 2 positions there to Magnussen and Tsunoda, even though we gained one on Norris, who drops down to 16th. So that's not actually a wise move from us there. And we run wide down into turn 10 as well. We drop even further as Schumacher and Albon and Gasly come through. We're down into 16th now through the back straight. We try to go around the outside of Gasly. It's a great move from us. We have the grip around the outside. We get back up into 15th. And look to try and pull these places back that we lost early on in the race. It's not the dream start that we wanted in this My Team career. We had a great qualifying to get in the top 10, and we've let it all go in the first lap of this race. We'll try and hang on to the back of Albon though as we finish the first lap, and hopefully we can try and make some of these positions back. But it's going to be a tough thing to do. As you see, we ran wide into that turn 10 there, and that's because the car is full of fuel. It's the first time we've ever had full fuel. As we go and try and get the inside of turn 1 again, a lot of contact with Albon, and we managed to get by him. I'm not sure how legal that move actually is. Very aggressive early on as we try and recover from our mistakes early on in this race. But we're back up into 13th. As we settle in for the second lap. A bit of a gap to Schumacher in front of us though, so it's going to be a lot of work to try and pull that gap back to try and get back up to 10th if we can. We're a little bit unsettled through the corners, as we said, full of fuel at the start of this race. As we're not used to driving the car with full fuel, it's going to be difficult to get used to the handling for a start. And you can see very slow into the corner and struggling to make it. We don't make the corner at all. We run wide, and that lets Albon back through again. We can't get the car rotated down into turn 10. It's a tricky corner as it is, but we mount an attack up the inside of Albon again, and we managed to get back through into 13th. It's a great battle between us and Alex Albon early on in this race, but that has meant that we've dropped even further to Schumacher, who's now 3 seconds ahead of us. It's going to be so difficult to try and bring that time back. But for now, we've just got to try and hold out Albon, see if we can create a gap to him, as next lap there will be DRS, and we don't want to have to fight Albon down this straight with DRS. We get to over a second at the start of the lap, and we're trying to maintain that through to the race. But Albon's dropped back now. We see Gasly's come through, but we're even further behind Schumacher as we get further into this race. We're not lapping very well at all. Red sectors all round, and we're in a bit of a no man's land at the moment. We have no DRS to Schumacher. Gasly doesn't have DRS behind us. We've just got to try the best we can do to try and make some time back to Schumacher and hope that we can pull some more places back in this race. I'd take 13th. For a first racer as a backmaker car. It's going to be difficult to try and get anywhere else. As we've seen before in the menus, we have the fastest engine, so we have the straight line speed, but the problem is that Haas also have the same engine as us, so we don't actually gain any advantage there, and we haven't got the upgrades on the car early on to make any improvements during the corners. We get a bit of time back through sector 1 as we go green, but again it's going to be difficult into turn 10. We've really got to slow the car down while we're still heavy to try and get it round, and that causes us to lose so much time to the cars ahead that we end up dropping even further back, and again into turn 10 here as we run wide, and Gasly's looking to mount an attack. He's able to come through. He's much quicker on the exit of the corner, and Gasly is back up into 13th. We've got to try and see if we can't make a move into the next corner, which we're looking to see if we could do like we did on Albon early in the race, and Gasly is through and is looking to get away from us very quickly as he's already 4 tenths ahead after a couple of corners. It's going to be difficult for us to try and get anywhere forward in this race. We're now 6 seconds behind Mick Schumacher. So trying to get this place back in Gasly is crucial. We've got to try and get back up to 13th. But it's looking unlikely it's going to happen. We have DRS down the home straight. Can we try and get an attack down into turn 1 with the use of the DRS? We're plenty of DRS after the corner, but we have no chance of getting up into turn 1. We're just not close enough to Gasly at all. We have to settle for 14th and try again later as we get the DRS up the hill, but we're not going to be close enough to make any form of attack into the turn 4. We get close to the back of Gasly, but nowhere near enough that we can make a move. So we have to settle behind him again through Sector 1 and into Sector 2 and hope that we can just stick with him for the next DRS section. Come down the hill, just tuck him behind, let him know that we're there, try and see if we can squeeze a mistake out of him. But we know we're not great into turn 10 here, so we've got to try and get a good exit if we can. We're good into the epics, but again we're running wide, and Gasly just has so much speed out of there with a better exit that we have no chance of doing anything into turn 11 after the DRS section. The Gasly now over a second ahead, and we're going to struggle to pull that time back to try and get any DRS on him again. You can see into lap 11 now, we're 1.2 seconds behind Gasly, and Norris is gaining on us behind. He's less than a second, so he's going to be looking to make an attack into the next DRS section. We get great advantage onto Gasly from Sector 1, but we're not able to make anything from it at all, as again we run wide into turn 10. Trying to defend from Norris was a great exit, as he pulls alongside down the straight using DRS, gets in front. We drop down to 15th. We look to go back round the outside of Norris round 11, but we can't do it. He has so much more pace than us round the corner, and he's through, and we have no chance of getting back. We're going to look again for the second last corner, but there's no chance, not under braking. We're too far behind. We're going to hope for DRS down the home straight if we can do anything there. We've got to look to the inside, can't make a move, we're not close enough. We have to settle for 15th, tuck in behind Norris and hope that we can get something down the straight. We tuck in behind, DRS goes open as we're close enough. Can we make a move into turn 1? No, we can't. We're going to have to pull into the pits for our scheduled stop on lap 13 and hope that we can have a good stop. But we have an inexperienced pit crew, so we may struggle in that department to get a quick stop out. It's all on us for the turn-in. Can we get it right? Yes, we can. Optimal. Can we get the 2.2 seconds? The hard to go on. It's 2.3. It's a decent stop. But Gasly, we're not able to make any time to Gasly, unfortunately, as he pulls away out of the pits. He's quite far ahead of us already at the end of the pit lane to turn 1. That he's now 3 seconds ahead of us. And we're going to struggle to make any time back. There's a little slip there on the cold tyres that we're going to have to warm these tyres up through the lap, get them into a good temperature so we can get them working. See, Norris is through on Gasly now into 15th. We're down into 17th. We have Russell, who's somehow got behind us. I'm not sure what's happened to Russell there for him to drop down into 18th in this race, but he's going to be looking to battle us on some warm tyres. So we're going to have a great battle on our hands to try and defend here, as the Mercedes is so much quicker than us. Down to turn 10, we again run wide. We're really struggling with turn 10 there. We maybe should have gone with a different setup for try and get a bit more grip on that front end to try and get the car rotating. Russell easily comes through with the extra power that he has and just the better setup of the car. So we're now down to 18th. It's a huge fall from where we started this race. Piastri is the next man behind us, which we don't really want to be looking behind. We're looking in front. We can't mount a move on Russell into the final corner. There's so much better acceleration out of the final corner. We will have DRS, but we're going to be too far back to try and even attempt to make a move into the braking section. There's no chance. We're going to have to settle for 18th and see if we can get him up the hill into turn 4. With DRS again, but he has so much better acceleration out of turn 2 and 3 that he just gets so far ahead of us. There's no chance we can get anywhere close. We go really late on the brakes, manage to make some time back, but it's not enough as Russell gets away from us again through sector 1. It's a nice sector from us with using double DRS to get it nice and green for us. And we're doing quite a good job of hanging on to the back of Russell for now, but I don't think we're going to be able to do this for long. We may end up ruining our own race even further by ruining the tyres. We go late on the brake into 10, bit of a slide into turn 10. We managed to hold it, but it means we get a horrible exit and Russell is far and away, and we have no chance of competing with anymore. But it may actually help us in the long run, because it was going to hurt our tyres trying to keep up with George Russell. He had a much faster car, could deal with the corners a lot easier, that we were having to put in so much effort to try and stick to him that it was going to ruin our tyres. As you see, Russell is now 6.5 seconds ahead of us. We have Gasly 6 seconds ahead as well, as Russell's looking to mount an attack and get up into 14th, which he does. We're going to have to try and attempt to use this gap in front of us to try and bring this gap to Gasly down. A bit of open space in front of us will hopefully be enough to get us some good lap times. You see, we've pulled half a second back on Gasly going into lap 22, so we are lapping faster now that we have this open space ahead of us. Piastri can't keep up with this. He has a bit of an issue that came up with the engine, or something to do with this car, so he's now dropped back to behind Zhou and Albon, as you can see now, into lap 25, or the end of lap 25. We've managed to cut the gap to Gasly down to 3.7 seconds. This open space in front of us is doing wonders for us to get some speed into this car, and hopefully this battle now between Gasly and Schumacher will bring them back into play for us, as down under 2 seconds now to Gasly, but we're only going to have 1 lap left to go. 1.8 seconds is not going to be enough. We're not lapping fast enough to have a chance to mount an attack, as Gasly has DRS down the straight. That's what's costing us here, is that with these two battling, they can DRS each other, so whoever's behind will get the advantage to us, as we have no one near us for any DRS at all. Zhou is almost 13 seconds behind, that we're just stuck in 16th place and stuck 2 seconds behind Gasly. It's not where we wanted to be from the start of this race when we started on 10th, but we knew the car was going to struggle to be competitive at the start of this season as a newcomer team. We were not going to have a great race car. We get it down to 1.5 seconds for Gasly, but it's still not going to be enough. 16th will do. It's not the worst. It could have been a lot worse. In this race, we have quite a few mistakes. If we maybe change the setup, we could have had better run-ins into turn 10, and that would have helped us to not lose so many places, be a bit more competitive, and we may have got a few more places. That we could have been 14th in Schumacher's place with a slightly different setup, so we'll have to take that into account going into future races. So we come around the penultimate corner of the final lap. Carlos Sainz is the winner of the first race of the season in the Ferrari with that Ferrari power, but we're going to come round the final bend now and come across the line to finish our first race of our 2022 My Team season. It's not a great race, but we'll take 16th. We're not in a great car, as we said earlier, so we'll take this and hope that we can build on this going into this season and get some better results going. We're going to need it for the sponsorship, and hope that we can do better. We'll see Ferrari here celebrating the first victory of the season. Carlos Sainz leads the championship after the first race, and hopefully we'll get an exciting championship battle going for us heading into the rest of the season. We'll be heading to Jeddah next in episode 2, where hopefully the car will do a lot better at Jeddah, as we have the faster power unit. It's very much a speed circuit, so hopefully we'll have a chance to be a bit more competitive there. So we see Carlos Sainz onto the podium for the first race, joined by the 2 Red Bulls of Perez in second, Verstappen in third. So it looks like it's going to be a great battle between Ferrari and Red Bull for the championship, like it is in real life this year. But as we said, into Jeddah, into the next race. Make sure you stick around to watch that, where hopefully we should be a bit more competitive and have a chance to get some points to kick off our My Team career.